Hey friends, today we're going to be talking about how you can make $5,000 to $15,000 in flipping real estate contracts. What is the biggest barrier most people have to get started in real estate? Is it finding the right deal? Could it be knowing when to buy, when to sell? Could it be money? Could it be knowledge? Although those are very important when it comes to real estate investing, I would say the biggest barrier is getting that first paycheck. The money that comes from that first deal in real estate, it's an absolute game changer. And today, I want to show you how to make $5,000 to $15,000 by flipping real estate contracts. Throughout this video, I'm going to show you exactly how flipping real estate contracts work. By first diving into real estate contracts and how setting yourself up from the get-go can help you in this process. Then I want to give you some real-world examples, some real-world strategies that have worked for me on how you can make $5,000 to $15,000. If you're ready, let's go. So how does it work to flip a real estate contract? What does that even mean? So really, there's two ways to do this. There's assigning contracts and novation. Let's start with assigning contracts. Basically, assigning a real estate contract is when you get a property under contract with the seller. And whenever I do any real estate properties, any agreements, I always put as the buyer, Aaron Peterson and/or assigns, meaning that I can assign it to whoever I want if the timing is right. And essentially, I'm trying to find a property at a really good deal that if it doesn't work out for me, I can go to somebody and say, hey, I've got this property under contract for this price. I'm willing to assign the contract to you for an additional $5,000, $10,000 to be able to make that difference in a blink. Now, the cool thing about this is I've actually done this. This was one of the first things I did in my real estate investing career. And I've talked about it in my other videos, and so I'll cover it briefly. But early on in my career, I had the opportunity to purchase a lot of fourplexes. I had some financial partners who said, listen, we know the area is booming. We know what you're doing. We like it. We're willing to finance the purchase of 10 of these fourplexes. So I went to the seller and I said, listen, I want to buy a fourplex. Now, I originally started out as one because I thought maybe I could take one down. And the price at the time was $275,000. And as I was talking to the seller, I said, what if I bought more than one? And he said, well, what are we talking? I said, what if I bought 5 to 10? He said, if you're willing to buy 5 to 10, that helps us with a bank. It gets us money in the door quickly. We're willing to drop it down from $275,000 to $255,000. And so I was pretty excited. Now, they came back to me about a week later and said, listen, one of these rows has 7 on one side, 7 on another side. If you're able to buy a row of fourplexes, so 14 in total, we'll actually knock the price down to $245,000. At the time, I said, absolutely, let's do it. I'd signed the agreement and/or assigns. And unfortunately, they said, listen, we can't do that. We can only do 10, like we said, but we still want it at $245,000. What does that look like? Man, I was kind of caught in a pickle and I thought, man, what should I do? Ironically, at the exact same time, there was a gentleman who said, hey, I know what you're doing up there. You're buying some properties. I heard you bought some fourplexes. Get me in on this. Get me in contact with the seller. And I thought, man, if I get him in contact with the seller, if he buys 1 or 2, he's probably paying $275,000. If I could just assign a handful of these to him, it makes it work for everybody. And so I asked the gentleman, what if I could get you 4? He's like, well, I would want more than 4, but if you can get me 4 at a good price, I'll take it. And so I negotiated with that individual to assign 4 of these fourplexes under contract to him for $255,000. I made $10,000 per fourplex by assigning that contract to that individual. And it was all because of the negotiation that happened prior to anything executing on the end as far as closing on real estate properties. It was a really cool situation and my first foray into real estate. Now, I've used this strategy other times in my life. There was a time where I bought a couple of lots in a highly desired area and it was just starting to develop. I bought 2 lots and I got them at a pretty good price. Similar things, people I'd worked with had heard, man, we heard that area is growing. We'd like to be in on that. And there's an individual who approached me separately and said, hey, can you give me the contact to the person up there? And I thought, man, I only want one. The other one was more of an investment. What if I could just assign it to him? Same thing, I was able to assign it to him at a really good price because I had bought 2 of them and I made about $3,000 to $5,000. Now, it wasn't a ton, but $3,000 to $5,000 for doing not much other than assigning a contract in the infant phases of my real estate investing career. Now, the second option is something called novations. I want to be completely transparent with you. I have not done any novations, but I'm in the process of looking into one right now. And I've done enough research to be dangerous in it, and I want to share with you what I've learned through my research. Now, there's a gentleman, Pace Morby, I've talked about him before. He's really a pioneer in some of these things, and does a great job, and it's something that's pretty dang exciting. So what is a novation? It is the act of replacing an obligation to perform with another obligation, or replacing a party to that assignment with another party. So the one thing about novations, it's not a buy and hold strategy. It's either a flip strategy, like flipping a property, or wholesaling a property. That's when novation can really be a benefit to you as a real estate investor. So let me break it down in a simple term. Let's say that you saw a car for sale on Facebook Marketplace, right? Let's say the car was maybe $3,000, but it's a type of car that holds its value really well, and you thought, holy cow, that car could easily sell for $5,000 if it had a little bit of work done to it. So you go to the individual who's selling the car, and you say, listen, I am willing to fix up the car, clean it, maybe put new tires on it, fix the windshield wipers, whatever you need to do cosmetically, make it look a lot better. I'll still give you your $3,000, but if you allow me to take it, fix it up, and get it where it's more presentable, and I can sell it for whatever I want. That person will say, absolutely, I'm willing to do that. If you're willing to give me my asking price, you can do that. So you go, you take the car, you spruce it up, you're able to sell it for $5,000. Now you take your expenses out of that. Maybe you spent $1,000 on that. You give the gentleman your $3,000, you got $1,000 for your expenses, you cleared $1,000 in that situation. That is exactly how novations work in a home. So in real estate, let's take the example of flipping a piece of property. Let's say there's a home out there and it's a little bit run down, distressed seller or distressed property, and they're asking $200,000 for that. You can go and say, listen, I will give you that $200,000 for that piece of property, but first, let me do a few things to it and I'll go out and I'll sell it for you. Now, if they're getting what they're asking for it or close to what they're asking for it, chances are they'll be pretty excited, but it buys you some time to be able to put a little elbow grease into it to make it worth more than it currently is right now. And the other cool thing, you don't have to acquire the property. There's no closing costs. There's no appraisals. There's no additional fees that you have to put into the property. Now, if you're fixing it up, you might have to put a little bit of money into it or a little bit of sweat equity. But to be able to get a piece of property under contract without having to put money down is pretty awesome, or needing to go through the transaction of getting it under contract and then acquiring it through a bank. It requires money to be used in that transaction. With novations, you don't have to do any of that. So you might ask yourself, well, how is novation different from contract assignment? With contract assignment, you are just assigning the contract to another individual. With novation, not only is the contract assigned, but also the burden. When novation is completed, the original contract is terminated and a new one is put in place. With this new contract, the third party is now responsible. Now, I told you earlier that I'm looking at novation. So there's a home in the city I live in. I know the individual that owns it. She is looking to move outside the United States, and the property has some cosmetic issues that I think if it could be enhanced, it's in a great area. And so my goal in the next few weeks is to go to this individual and say, listen, I'm willing to buy your home. Here's what I think market value is, right? With how it looks right now, it's probably worth X. I'm willing to give you X, but allow me to do some things to enhance the value, and then let me sell it. And once I do, I will give you the money that you want for the property, and it would allow her to be released from the burden of that, and me being able to take over that property, spruce it up, be able to sell it at a profit, and make that difference from what she wants to what I'm able to sell it for once it looks like the property that it should look like. Now, with both of these strategies, whether you're flipping contracts or you're flipping a novation, both of them require little to no money. So it's an absolute great strategy that'll put you in control and be able to make $5,000 to $10,000. So let's talk about that. What is a way right now you can make this $5,000 to $10,000? It always starts with a deal, right? It takes a lot of time, and you've got to be a sleuth. You've got to be able to look for properties, whether it's driving by properties that look like they're run down. We call that driving for dollars, where you might go up to that property owner or the neighbor and say, listen, I'm looking to purchase properties. I represent a real estate investment group and we acquire properties. What would you be willing to sell your home for? And that begins the conversation. Now, if you approach the neighbor, same situation where you go up and say, listen, I represent some real estate investors, and do you know, tell me a little bit about this home. What do you know about this? Many times they might tell you more than you even want to know, but for them, thinking that somebody's going to come in and make this property look better, they get pretty excited about that, and they usually give you some good information. But it all starts in the deal. You really have to find a good deal. So once you find those properties, whether it's driving for dollars or using real estate software, which I'll talk about in a minute, you've got to be able to get a property at a good deal under contract. And the other thing to be doing during this time is building a buyer list. Now, everybody has people in their contacts that they know if there was a great deal on a piece of property, would probably acquire it, right? If it was making money, if it was a decent cash on cash return, why wouldn't they buy it? But putting together that buyer's list is crucial. There's an organization here that I'm very familiar with, great individuals. They started many years ago, and they actually started a franchise, a wholesaling franchise throughout the United States. And one of the first things they ask people to do is to get a buyer list. Start acquiring a buyer's list. And that way, whenever you get a property under contract that looks like a good deal, you can assign that contract or send out an email or a text to these individuals, say, listen, there's a great property, it's available for this much money, price is starting here, and you let a little bit of a bidding war begin and see who's willing to come in and buy it more. It's a strategy that these individuals, this company's used for a long time, and really all they are doing is finding properties here and assigning the contracts for here and making the difference. Now, finding that properties can be a challenge. I have a real estate software that I love, that I use. It's not mine, it's called RealFlow. You can actually put in certain criteria on what you're looking for properties that allow you to search properties that are off market. You can be so specific to say, listen, I'm looking for properties that owe taxes, they're in pre-foreclosure, it's an absentee owner, a number of different things, and you can narrow it down. In a big city, it might only be 5, 6, 7, 8 properties, but they're exactly what you're looking for a distressed property or a distressed seller, and you'll be able to go in. And what I like to do is do a skip trace of the address to find out who owns the home and acquire their number. That might cost a little bit of money, but we're talking dollars to be able to get the number of the individual, call that person, and see if they're willing to sell the home. And a lot of times, if all those criteria meet, they're willing to do that. And getting that property under contract, either under a novation or flipping the contract, will lead you to be able to then have the option to assign either one of those, or get it under novation where you have it under this price and you're able to fix it up, turn around and sell it at this price and make the difference. The cool thing about that, instantly you can be making $5,000 to $15,000 per transaction, easy, by implementing any of these strategies. Now, these are some strategies I've used in my own life to make $5,000 to $15,000 in real estate investing, especially when I didn't have a lot of money to get started. I'd love to hear from you. What are your strategies? And as always, I've got a free gift for you, aaronsfreetraining.com. It is a short-term rental calculator where you put in the information, the price, all the expenses, and it spits out to you whether it's a good deal or not. Anyway, I appreciate you visiting, watching the video. Have an awesome day. We'll hear from you soon.